A couple days ago, a leftist writer for Marvel's She-Hulk started criticizing South Park. And I found this to be really, really funny because South Park made a movie that was literally about censorship and like political correctness, mostly about not swearing. But that was like the general plot of South Park's film, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. And back in the day, when South Park was, getting more and more popular, or was really big, like late 90s, 2000s, for me, the world I lived in, it was the conservatives that tended to be the moral authoritarians, the ones calling for censorship and wanting shows banned. And South Park has been able to live through all of this. It's now the left that wants to ban TV shows and censor things, and it's been getting to that point for a while, and it's really weird. I don't understand why this happened. I was thinking about this the other day when I was doing a segment on Samantha Bee. She was talking about PragerU and called them dangerous. I realized if you go back in time, there's a segment from The Daily Show with Jon Stewart where he uncritically plays a clip from Project Veritas. He then rags on the media and says, if this guy, James O'Keefe, can do this, where were you? He actually shows the footage from Veritas as legitimate footage, not calling James a liar or any of those things. He makes jokes about, James O'Keefe and everything, but it's decently positive. He then goes on to rag on the media and then call Baltimore an S-hole. Jon Stewart. Now you have Donald Trump saying essentially the same thing, and all of a sudden it's the left that's furious and outraged over Trump's behavior. And I'm like, dude, 10 years ago, Jon Stewart was speaking the exact same way, and the left laughed. The left laughed. And I think I combine these ideas with a lot of what Jack Murphy was telling me on my podcast last week. He's the guy who was a Democrat and then wrote a book about how he became a Trump supporter, a deplorable, as he says. And he said that cultural issues came off the table for the Republican Party and allowed him to make that switch. Things like gay marriage and pot legalization. And then I started to see something. People like this woman. So we'll read this story about South Park. They say Marvel Studios She-Hulk writer Dana Schwartz, quote, "It seems impossible to overstate the cultural damage done by South Park. What religion are you adhering to?" But here's what I see. Look at John Oliver, Samantha Bee, Stephen Colbert. Jon Stewart was a thought leader. He pioneered the program that was The Daily Show. Political, but funny. Pointing out the ironies and leading that charge and having a sensible liberal base. These people who left the Democratic Party and went who knows where, people like me, for instance, they didn't go anywhere. We're just homeless now. But then also people like Jack Murphy were very likely, in my opinion, the thought leaders that were leading the charge. They were the core of substance in this left. And now that they're gone, you get a hollow shell of generic crap, like Samantha Bee's show. People watch it, but it's mindless, generic garbage. She is nothing compared to what Jon Stewart used to be. And John Oliver, every single joke is the exact same. Little Timothy over here in current year. Yeah, that shit, like it got to the point where people are just sick and tired of the same joke over and over and over again. And Trevor Noah, same thing. It's a generic version of what once was because the people on the left that were thought leaders and funny left, and the people remaining are moral authoritarians and generic, and they don't even know what they stand for. Which brings me to the story where it's actually a left-wing writer slamming South Park, of all people. It used to be the left laughing at South Park, and South Park made fun of everybody. And she brings it up like it's a bad thing. I don't know what... let's read the story. Marvel Studios She-Hulk writer Dana Schwartz took to Twitter to criticize Trey Parker and Matt Stone's South Park, claiming, "It seems impossible to overstate the cultural damage done by South Park. In retrospect, it seems impossible..." Okay, you're going to say that a million times. In subsequent tweets, she added, "Smugness is not the same as intelligence. Provocation isn't the same as bravery. The lesser of two evils aren't the same." Now, I will also criticize South Park because they've gotten really weak. They lost their bite. In the past couple of years, South Park has been too terrified to actually criticize mainstream political phenomenon. They did do one thing with the trans woman athlete, but it's clear that with the left like fracturing and falling apart, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone being somewhat lefty type individuals, at least at the time when the show was created, where are they now? I don't think they're being brave enough to actually tackle these ideas. And what ends up happening is you get this generic crap that nobody likes. And Trey Parker and Matt Stone are OGs. With Jon Stewart leaving, you're left with this mindless husk of generic crap on these late night shows. But Matt Parker and Trey Stone have no excuse for not having more bite in their content. Look at Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has no problem saying all of these things and making jokes about them. Why can't South Park? Now, I know. South Park did that one episode with, it was the parody version of Macho Man Randy Savage claiming to be a woman. So I get it. They did punch back. But a lot of what they do, it's just, look, maybe they're trying and they've just become kind of bored with it. I have no idea. But that's my criticism. My criticism is South Park doesn't go far enough. Let's read on. She claims South Park is even trying to reckon with her criticisms. She says, it seems like South Park has been trying to reckon with this. I admit I haven't been watching the show in recent seasons, but I'm fascinated to see this. South Park issues rare apology for Man Bear Pig. Yeah, kind of. It's still making fun of everything. Stop taking jokes so seriously all the time. She actually thinks that when South Park did an episode where Al Gore was freaking out about Man Bear Pig, that they were literally trying to claim Al Gore was talking about the boogeyman. It was just a joke. They were making fun of his zeal, not necessarily saying climate change wasn't real. Calm down. Like when George Carlin rags on people, he ragged on feminists. He was actually a feminist. Rest his soul. George Carlin was amazing. George Carlin had jokes about feminists, PC police, but then in private legitimate interviews would talk about how he actually agreed with some of these things. How shocking is it to these people? They don't understand these concepts. When we had thought leaders like George Carlin, it was understood. A lot of people like to point to the fact that George Carlin was very anti-PC, and he was, and then highlight this interview where he says, I actually agree with trying to do away with some of these terms. They're acting like when George Carlin was saying, or I don't know, a better way to put it is, when George Carlin is overtly expressing his political views outside of a comedic routine, they act like they understand the joke. But then when any other comedian makes the joke, say Count Dankula, for instance, and his pug, they pretend like they don't understand the joke. Perhaps it's because they don't care and they just want to win. After criticizing the show, Schwartz revealed her main complaint was actually with fans of the show, specifically the boys who watched it. She wrote, quote, to be clear, I don't blame the show itself as much as I do the generation of boys who internalized it into their personalities, which maybe isn't the show's fault. Aw, really? It's the people. It's the people who make jokes. You don't like the jokes. How could you not blame the show and just blame the person who watched the show? I was thinking about something too. How come on social media, so many people made like Jew jokes? And then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, dude, South Park. Yeah, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, Cartman's character would do all these things. Perhaps these people didn't realize that Cartman was the joke, that he was an insufferable, nasty little person, and still is, because the show is still on the air. Perhaps they didn't realize you were meant to despise him. And most people got that joke. And young men who grew up making those jokes knew the jokes were purposefully offensive. That was the point. You were mocking them. You end up with PewDiePie making some of these jokes, and they act like the sky is falling. No, PewDiePie was doing what South Park was doing. Isn't it crazy that PewDiePie lost everything because he made these dumb jokes that South Park literally makes every single day? And going back a couple of years. Or how about Family Guy? Seth MacFarlane. He's a funny guy. I think he does a great job. And Family Guy does Jew jokes and gay jokes and deaf jokes and any kind of joke. They just do it. Now, I think in recent times they said they wouldn't do gay jokes anymore. But American Dad and Family Guy made all of these jokes. And guess what? The people who adopted that humor earned it from these Gen Xers. They learned it and earned that. So now they make these jokes. But millennials and their delicate sensibilities panic because words are violence. So they cower in the corner, and these big media companies, not realizing this is a fringe, small faction of people, panics and then starts banning jokes on YouTube. Here's my question to all of you. If you're so upset about South Park and Family Guy, how come you no. I'll put it this way. If you're so upset about PewDiePie and Joe Rogan, why aren't you trying to get Family Guy and South Park banned from YouTube? I mean, should Comedy Central be allowed to have these clips on YouTube of Cartman saying these jokes? Or even Futurama. Futurama wasn't really, as bad as, say, Family Guy or South Park was. But any one of these shows could have an offensive joke. Yet it's only when a YouTuber does it. It's only when I say something. It's only when PewDiePie says something or Joe Rogan. It's never when Seth MacFarlane says something. Why is that? Why do they ignore decades of mainstream culture that is still on TV today? Well, she's starting to bring up South Park now, so fine, I'll give her that. But they complained all day and night about these YouTubers who were inspired by MacFarlane and Trey and Matt. And Seth MacFarlane's like an overt lefty, moderate, more moderate Democrat type. But he even makes fun of his own kind of persona with Brian being an insufferable liberal in Family Guy. He makes fun of everybody. I respect that. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I think you're making a joke. I get it. So let me wrap it up. The point I'm making is it seems completely fake. None of these people actually care about any of these things. She's even saying it's not even the show's fault at this point. It's just tribal moral authoritarianism. I know you get this, but because of the latest, phenomena, I guess, I decided to record a segment about it. But I'll leave it there. Stick around. I got one more segment coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.